Please, what is that? Don't tell me. It's all in the Reflexes.
You're listening to All in the Reflexes, an unrepentant vivisection of geek news and culture.
It's all in the Reflexes.
With the comedy rock geek Mikey Mason, the Brack of all trades Jeb Brack, Madison Metricula Roberts, and tech guy Steve.
It's all in the Reflexes.
I know, there's a problem with your face.
Hello and welcome to All in the Reflexes. I am Jeb Brack.
I'm Madison Metricula Roberts.
And this is Tech Guy Steve.
One announcement this week, the Random Encounters RPG discussion group went live this week with our very first question. So how many players are optimal at your table? We want to know how many players you want to play with and why. You know, how many is too many? How many is too few? That's the kinds of things we're looking for this week. So if you would like to give us your input on that, you can find the Random Encounters group on Facebook. We'll also be asking the questions, the same questions in many of the RPG forum discussion boards, like Fear the Boot and Happy Jacks and whatnot. So give us your input. Who knows? You may turn up in an article that we write about this later on. So there we go. Personally, however, I am very pleased to announce that my chapter, the Cincinnati chapter of my Urban Sketchers group, got featured in the current Urban Sketchers newsletter, Drawing Attention.
That is a very cute name for a Sketchers newsletter.
It really is.
It totally is. It totally is. But we are very pleased to be in this newsletter because it goes out all over the world. We're sharing page space with some really awesome artists from all over the place. And if you go to page 18, you will see a picture of yours truly in the upper right in the big mass of Sketchers. So that's what's going on. And if I could just recommend anybody who even has the slightest bit of interest in any kind of drawing, join an Urban Sketchers group. Go out with them a couple of times, and you'd be surprised at what you can turn out. So there we go. What's going on with you guys?
Well, speaking of art in a general sense, we're finally having the first floor of our house. So we live in a townhouse, and so the quote-unquote basement is in the side of a hill, but like there's a full bath down there, and it's finished, it's carpeted, there's a fireplace, it's very cozy. And I am super excited because we're finally repainting that and doing some repairs and stuff. So Richard, my husband's concept for the color scheme, this is like without me prompting, because like I love every color. I love them all. They're great. I want loud, bright, tropical bird colors all the time. Richard was more muted in other periods in his life, but now his color concept was Neo-Tokyo Alley. Okay? So
You're going to have to define that for me.
Well, the base color is kind of a purplish gray, like kind of a darkish purplish gray. And then the multiple accent walls are hot pink and turquoise.
Oh
like
my God.
Neon signs in a rainy, like a rainy Blade Runner alley. It's going to be really cool. I think it's going to be...
It sounds cool, and you uploaded an image.
It sounds like Florida. It's turquoise and pink.
It's
yeah, that's
effing
true.
Neo-Tokyo, okay? It's different, and I am just so excited that Richard was, like, embracing so much of... he was like, baby, are you sure these colors are okay? I don't want to take it over. I really want this to be our space. And I'm like, no, this is great. I'm in. Hot pink, turquoise. Let's do it.
Some, I think maybe some wall accents would be a good thing to really complete it, like some neon signs or some, decals of
wall decals would be great.
Big-eyed, small-mouthed women with umbrellas and things like that.
Well, it's also going to be my streaming setup area because I'm going to move my sound equipment and cameras and stuff down there, and I'm finally hoping to bring my large Madame Alexander collectible doll collection back from my parents' house to our house. So it's going to be amazing.
So creepy. Steve, what's going on with you?
I just want to point out those colors are similar to the Miami Vice logo colors.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, they are.
I'm sure he's internalized that. I'll have to post these in our Facebook.
I want to see Richard in a white linen jacket and espadrilles, baby.
Oh well, he owns a white linen suit. We live in the South. What do you think people wear here?
There you go.
Oh, that's cool.
So it's got to be a pastel low neck T-shirt and espadrilles.
Oh, you guys are going to make me too hot and heavy to record if you keep going.
I'm about to start the Comic Book Girl 19 Watchmen Club. That's what this is her second book club. The first one was Dune. The second one is the Watchmen trade paperback. The famous, much celebrated, it was a 12-issue, maxi series, then collected into a trade paperback, written by Alan Moore. I forgot the artist's name. David something?
Gibbons.
Gibbons.
Okay.
Fantastic book. Changed a lot of things in comics. I was just watching part of the movie tonight. It happened to be on cable, so I watched about a third of it. Yeah. Anyways, we'll put a link. There's a little YouTube video explaining the club, the dates. She's going to be streaming this via Twitch, and then I think usually it gets recorded, and then the recordings go up to YouTube. You don't have to have bought the club box. Just get your copy of The Watchmen. You can follow along. It's kind of fun to have a kind of an adult international reading club online. If you do want to support her or you want the extra stuff, because she has this whole pack where you get stickers, patches, a pin, and a custom bookmark, a lot of fun stuff. You can buy that separately from her website. I'll put a link to that too. It's called the Watchmen Club Pack. It's a fun way of supporting Comic Girl 19 and kind of participating with everybody else in the book club. So I'm really looking forward to that. It's one of my favorite books ever to read. It'd be fun to reread it as an adult, but also read it, with the community.
Looks very cool. I'm going to investigate that and maybe even shell out for it because a lot of awesome stuff.
Oh,
in there.
She's so cool. I have such a crush on her.
Yeah, there's something cute. So the bookmark is kind of her done up as Dr. Manhattan, but obviously she's a woman. Yeah. But the full nudity and everything. So she wants to be able to do a cosplay as Dr. Manhattan based on the bookmark. But she's no longer as much in shape as she once was.
Uh-oh.
And she's still a very attractive young woman. Yeah. But so she set it her goal herself to, during the course of the book club, get in shape.
Oh,
so she's already begun.
Cosplay?
Yes, in order to do the cosplay. So she's already put up a video about, here's what I look like, and I'll be doing this water, and I've chosen an exercise routine, and this is the, the exercise place I'll be going to, and it's just kind of a cute idea that while we read the book week after week, she's going to be toning up and getting ready for this cosplay.
It's encouraging, too. It's like, yeah, do it.
Awesome. So let's get to the news.
And now for some more bad news. Ready?
Okay, I don't know what's worse in Florida, the hurricanes or the terrible, terrible sign language interpreters who don't know sign language. And this has happened before.
What?
Somehow, these idiots tell the officials that they do sign language. They get invited to go on TV and interpret the official announcement, from the Weather Service of Florida, and the guy doesn't know sign language. He's randomly signing stuff. And so they said the recent one, 95% of everything he signed was gibberish, and included warnings about pizza and a big bear instead of actual safety tips about the incoming hurricane.
Oh, man.
That's brutal.
Yeah, and this is not the first time it's happened. There was a famous one a few years ago where, I don't know what country, like Brazil or something, and so it was like the official sign language interpreter for the, president of Brazil, if that's whatever, it was another country. And the
South
same
Africa.
thing. Oh, was it? Okay. And the same thing, nobody could double check him, because if you don't know sign language, you don't know that this guy is a liar. And they get on TV with you, and I don't know if they think they do it for the lulz or why they do it, but, and then the actual deaf people who rely on the service are like, that wasn't real sign language. So anyways, the news article is that Florida's cracking down on this. They're trying to pass a law that you have to actually be a licensed interpreter and be qualified to get the license, and only licensed interpreters will be allowed to use for these important type of, this is a safety announcement having to do with a storm. No more finding a volunteer who claims to know sign language.
Right. Well, there's not all that many people who really are fluent in it outside the deaf community, so finding them can be really tough.
several years ago, I mean many years ago now, I worked with a coworker who was deaf, and I learned just the basics. It was mostly the letters and just a few of the words, and it was painfully slow for him to wait for me to spell stuff out.
That's right.
So
Sure.
just to sign language is actually mostly words. One sign for an entire word or concept.
Yep.
And then you can sit there and do finger spelling just for the words that you don't have a sign for.
Yeah, like names especially.
Yeah, so it's a little bit more complicated than just learning the 26 finger signs, letter
yes.
signs.
Oh, yes.
And I want to say it takes real skill.
Yeah, it absolutely does. One of the guys in my game group is not only a sign language interpreter, I mean, he is a sign language teacher that he teaches deaf kids.
Wow, okay.
And he tells me that he's gotten up at concerts and at like A Christmas Carol, the play A Christmas Carol, and done the sign language just on the spur of the moment because they didn't have one, because there wasn't anybody, and so he got up and did it. So yeah, it can be hard finding that sort of thing. So,
I mean, it's a language.
It absolutely is. And how disgusting do you have to be to get up and pretend? You know,
I know.
It would be like someone saying, I'm going to do the Russian translation, Mr. Ambassador, then going, bork to bork to bork to bork. Bork to
Oh,
bork.
no. That would be obvious because that's Swedish. That's obviously not fake Russian. That's fake Swedish.
That's fake Swedish. But it would be just that insulting. I mean,
Right.
Yeah. So to restore our faith in humanity, let's talk about the Mr. Rogers biopic that's going to be made, titled "You Are My Friend," and it's a story about Fred Rogers meeting a journalist who is kind of hard bitten and cynical, named Tom Juno, and they become great friends, and it turns around Mr. Juno's view on life just to know Mr. Rogers. Isn't that great? The only thing that could make it better would be as if Tom Hanks was Mr. Rogers, and he is. He's going to be playing Mr. Rogers. So Fred Rogers' youngest son, John, says that his family is thrilled with the choice. And, Hollywood's nicest guy playing the world's nicest guy, that seems like a no-brainer to me, frankly.
like a welcome respite from all the current craziness. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right, from fake sign language interpreters and an orange president.
Well, some more upcoming movie news. So you're heartened by Mr. Rogers. I'm heartened by the number of records that Black Panther is supposed to, or is expected to either crack or come close to. I forget what, it's one of the largest pre-sales of tickets, I think, ever, as far as like domestic box office. But
two of my coworkers tried, and they could not get a opening weekend ticket at all.
Wow.
And we're still a couple months out. Or a month and, 15 days now.
Yeah, because it comes out over President's Day. Which is toward the end of the month. It's going to be, I'm very excited to see it, but I mean, we're talking like, there's some of the kind of like, it's going to make a lot of money, I hope, but it's probably, or it's going to break records for like highest opening weekend for a largely black cast, black director, probably one of the higher Marvel debuts, certainly.
Wow, who'd have thunk? Who'd have thunk that you give a large segment of our population movies featuring heroes that look like them, and suddenly it's going to be awesome? Who'd have thought? Oh my God!
Did y'all see the red carpet premiere video or photos of the fashion?
It was a purple carpet. I would like to point out.
It was so royal. It was ready to go. I'm excited. Like I read at least the first few issues in Ta-Nehisi Coates' run of Black Panther.
Yeah, me too.
I'm just super stoked. And so you were mentioning too, the term like Afrofuturism is getting so much traction now.
Yep.
That's what I'm excited about, because there's a whole body of literature I have never seen.
Right.
And I've read science fiction for years, and it just was not on my radar. And not only am I being introduced to it, but so are, millions of other potential readers saying, hey, there's more stuff like this. Where are those authors? Show us the work.
Yeah.
And you can and we'll post some things I think in the Facebook group, but you can Google Afrofuturism and there's some suggested authors and stuff. But it's this really cool like kind of Black and African experience sci-fi, and the way sci-fi can be used to tell stories that are particular to that experience, which is just it's just so cool. But I want to ask, have you guys seen Blade?
The vampire movie
yeah.
with Wesley Snipes? Yeah, I saw that years and years ago. Yeah.
I saw it in the theater.
I see that coming up on Afrofuturist films lists. I've never seen it, but
I don't see how that qualifies. It's not
I think
sci-fi or future.
But it's vampires, though. I mean, they're kick-butt vampires, right?
Well, I would call it Afro action horror. I mean, it certainly is that, but Afrofuturism, just because Wesley Snipes had weird shapes carved into his hair,
that's why it shows
I don't think that counts. Well, I mean, if you're talking about like on Netflix algorithms that are giving you suggested things, those things show the stupidest things as links. If you like this, you might like this. If you like Saving Private Ryan, you might like Rugrats.
Let us not forget famous LGBT movie, The Babadook.
Yeah, that's right.
That's
Gay
right.
icon, The Babadook.
So I wouldn't put a whole lot of stock in that recommendation. I mean, Blade's an okay movie.
I've never seen it, so
it's very stylistic. I enjoyed it. But
at the time, I think it may have some 80s or 90s cachet to it.
90s, yeah.
Yeah, but it was fine. I liked it, but futurism, nah, not so much.
Yeah, I've seen some Afrofuturism in comic books, other than just Black Panther, like in science fiction comic books.
Right.
But again, I don't have a huge history with it. I would like to learn more. It seems very interesting.
I read some short stories recently, because it's one of the things I've been trying to do is to make sure that I'm reading as much stuff by women and other underrepresented quote unquote minorities in fiction as I think I am. And it's like, oh man, there's this whole, because everybody's like, oh yeah, I mostly read blah blah blah. And then I looked at it like a couple years ago. I was like, man, that's a lot of dudes. Last year, I didn't read anything by white men unless I personally knew them. And there's still plenty of stuff to read. Like you're never going to be able to read anything or everything.
Absolutely, yeah. It's a shame. It's a shame that it feels like that you got to go looking for it.
Yeah.
I think maybe with the success of Black Panther that it'll bring it out as a valid thing to put in front of more eyeballs.
More mainstream, yeah.
So turning a little bit away from literature and movies, we've already covered some really big musical acts are stopping touring, mostly due to age, and there's a couple more. We covered a couple last week. This week you can add Meatloaf and Paul Simon. Meatloaf said his health is keeping him. He's got a lot of problems with his back, so he probably will never perform again. And Paul Simon is setting up a farewell show in London, though the article wasn't clear that this is his actual retirement, but the show was being called his farewell show. So, again, really great acts. Been around for a very long time, but they're getting older. So
I have to be honest, I didn't know Meatloaf was still alive.
And I'll join you with, honestly, he's never been my favorite. He's got a couple big hits from, the 70s or something?
Yes, yeah.
And they play that stuff to death.
Yeah.
Was it? See, it's not my type of music. I just get radio play.
And he was in Rocky Horror.
Yes, it's true. He was in Rocky Horror Picture Show. It's true.
But something about the dashboard lights or...
Paradise by the Dashboard Lights.
Yeah, that used to get played to death when I was younger, and never really did it for me.
I would do anything for love, but I won't do that.
Yeah.
So the title should really be, I won't do absolutely anything for love.
Yeah.
That's just the proofreader in me.
Paul Simon, on the other hand, man, I loved his stuff.
Yeah.
His Rhythm of the Saints album, absolutely loved it. Listen to that endlessly. Graceland, yep.
Absolutely. Well, but then even going back to the Simon and Garfunkel days.
Sure, yep.
It's one of the reasons I wanted to play guitar, because Simon and Garfunkel was just so cool,
Yeah, absolutely. Part of the fabric of American life. I mean, it's just soundtrack to the 60s alongside the Beatles,
Yeah, even people that aren't that interested in, that era, I mean, they know songs like Sounds of Silence, or
right. Mrs. Robinson.
Mrs. Robinson, yeah.
Scarborough Fair. Yeah, I mean, they sell a parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme mix at the herb store here.
Yeah, try not to get that stuck in your head,
Yeah, seriously. So, I'll be sad to see him go, but at the same time, Paul Simon leaves a legacy of great music that is never going to go away. So there you go.
Well, speaking of maybe legacies, so I am a Harry Potter fan. The books started coming out when I was in high school, and I read them through college and right after, I think. And so the Fantastic Beasts movie is the last one came out 2 years ago, and they're doing a sequel to that with young Dumbledore. I'm not sure how very, very attractive and sensitive Eddie Redmayne is in the plot, because they haven't really been talking about that yet. But Dumbledore is the main wizard in Harry Potter, and it's going to feature the fight between Dumbledore and Grindelwald, who's like Wizard Hitler.
Yeah,
right.
But after the fact, after the books were done and published, J.K. Rowling famously came out and said, well, Dumbledore is gay. And
Sure.
Grindelwald was his former lover, right?
Ooh.
It's not in the books anywhere, but it's part of her expanded lore. Right?
Can I just say, my mother nailed that? Like, to me, when that first came out, I was like, wow, I never saw that coming. My mother's like, it's obvious.
The gator was strong.
What do you mean it's obvious? And she was pointing to specific passages about his dressing gown was always lacy and like over the top, and everybody else had a regular seat up at the big table, but his was this great big fancy chair. And she was pointing to specific things in the book that she said it was obvious all along. I don't understand why other people didn't catch it.
That's awesome.
Also, there was that time he kissed a dude. Yeah. I can't believe you missed that, Steve.
Well, and there's this one passage where he talks about Grindelwald, and he's like, you don't know how his ideas set me aflame, Harry. And it's like, oh, that is sexy. But anyway, but the thing is, so in the movie, everybody's like, oh my God, so how gay will Dumbledore be in the movie? And the director says, not explicitly gay. And everyone's like, what? Because I just don't have time if he's not going to be super gay. Because okay, so don't you think the story is more interesting that Dumbledore is famous because he defeated Grindelwald, Wizard Hitler, his ex-boyfriend?
Yeah,
he had to
that amps up the drama.
Yeah, I mean, isn't that intense? It's almost too intense. It's super intense, and it's but they're clearly just kind of skirting it. I've been sort of mixed about the newer Harry Potter stuff, especially with Johnny Depp. The fact that so many people, including J.K. Rowling, were defending him against the allegations that Amber Heard, his ex-wife, was putting against him for domestic abuse. And he's also I'm just kind of over Johnny Depp. He's just so, but whatever. But I don't have time for not gay Dumbledore.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. All I can think of is that there's always pushback because people still want to believe that Harry Potter's aimed at little kids. It's not. And therefore you can't
Wizard Hitler? Wizard Hitler?
Yeah. Again, people were kind of upset about Baltimore, murdering people.
Oh.
And it doesn't matter. There's a long conversation about parents think that kids are dumb or incapable of dealing with that, but kids are more than capable of dealing with that, of bad guys who are actually bad.
Yeah.
Anyways,
not if their parents are sheltering them from it at every turn. But but I mean, every fairy tale ever is a brutal, savage tale.
Yeah, it was. I think C.K. Chesterton famously said, "The fairy stories don't teach children that the world has dragons in it. Children already know the world has dragons in it. Fairy stories teach children that there's a knight willing to slay the dragon and defend you."
Right.
And it's this fantastic lesson about, children already know the world is dangerous, and if you're doing a job as a parent, you're teaching them to be careful because the world is dangerous. And that's not the point of the literature, isn't just everything is bunnies and butterflies, nothing dangerous out there.
Gummy bears and unicorns.
Yeah, that's not the actual, lesson. Anyways, but be that as it may.
Yeah.
But that's usually the pushback. Dumbledore's gay, but these are children in the audience.
Right.
And instead of dealing with the controversy, they can just kind of skirt it by saying, no, he's gay. We just never explicitly say that or show it in any way ever.
Whereas people took their 5-year-olds to see Revenge of the Sith, where Anakin is totally dismembered, That's fine.
No, people took their 4-year-olds to see Deadpool, for God's sake.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah. All right.
I'm not old enough and I'm 47.
All right, so about a few years ago, I came across a verb. It is Rothfuss. If you have been Rothfussed, it means that you have read a series of books without realizing that the series isn't finished yet. Now this is kind of akin to being martined or something like that. But yeah, exactly. Yeah. Because I was given the book The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss to read, and I really, really liked it. And I get to the end, and I'm like, oh, it's a series. What's the next book? It's not out yet. That was several years ago. Since then, the second book, The Wise Man's Fear, has come out and was also great, but there's still more to come, and it still hasn't been finished. And so that's why I feel it is a little terrible that they are putting into production the King Killer Chronicle series, a movie and a TV series based on these books. Now, it sounds great because Sam Raimi is supposed to direct and Lin-Manuel Miranda is supposed to be like the creative producer behind it. Wow. Heavy duty. That's great. Top talent. But the series not finished. We're going to get another TV series where the TV series finishes the books? No. I already thought that was bogus with the Game of Thrones.
Are they
stuff.
looking for the next Game of Thrones? This Name of the Wind is like a fantasy book?
It is. It's exactly what it is.
I've met Pat Rothfuss, and he was delightful. But
yeah, I've heard he's a really great guy. I've heard he's a really great guy.
Yeah, he was at a convention I was at, so I got to sit with him at a table for a few minutes. It was very cool.
That's still pretty cool. I didn't realize that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and the books are great. I really love them, and I really want to finish the series. I don't want it to be set in stone about what it all looks like by a TV show. I wanted to read it myself, but this seems to be the wave of the future, is that studios are looking for the hottest property that they can get their hands on, and who am I to tell the author, no, don't take that sweet option money.
Oh, yeah.
No. That's only more money than you'll ever see from any of your books ever.
Yeah, that's right.
Don't do that.
It's hard to begrudge them making a book. So
yeah, exactly right. So I really hope that this series, they're going to be basing it on the first of the books, The Name of the Wind, but they're calling it the King Killer Chronicle because that's the name of the series. And so they'll start with the first book, and hopefully we'll get other books by the time this one finishes up. But
all right. So
anyway, keep your eyes on it. And Mr. Rothfuss, I'm sorry that your name has become synonymous with reading a series that's not finished yet.
That is funny. He's been verbed.
That's right. You've been verbed.
So there's two upcoming movies. Sort of, one's real, one's not.
Let's see if you can guess which one's real.
All right. Yeah, that'll be a fun game.
So that was funny. Like Passion of the Christ, the sequel.
No, that can't be it.
Yeah, and ironically, that's the real one.
No.
So that was a 2004 blockbuster. My wife and I went to see it. It's one, I don't know what to say. It was worth seeing once. It was so brutal. It's not something I would ever rush to ever see again.
I got the soundtrack because it was done by Peter Gabriel, but I never saw the movie.
Wow. Yeah, it was intense. Maybe I'll tell that story a little bit in the There's Probably Your Face, just about what was it like to be in the theater that day. But in any case, it made him a ton of money. That nobody else wanted to back it. They thought it was never going to take off, and so there's like a $30 million budget, mostly financed by Mel Gibson himself, and it made well over $600 million. So he's going to make the sequel, and I'm like, what? Christ is back with a gun or something. This time it's personal. Christ 2, Electric Boogaloo.
Oh my goodness!
But no. It's what you think. It's Christ is risen, so it's a resurrection story, and he's got Jim Caviezel to play Christ. So then the same actor who did it the first time. But it's a lot of time has passed. I mean, it's we're talking 14 years,
more than 3 days.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, exactly. So Jim Caviezel obviously looks a little different now.
But
whatever.
Christ,
the first one was
Christ
good.
Look a little different after being raised from the dead.
He looks a Messiah. You look 14 years older.
I mean, it's interesting that they're going to cover the resurrection because, to be fair, a lot of Jesus media stops
at the death.
Like Jesus Christ Superstar and Godspell. From the musical theater end of things, stops when he dies. It doesn't do the resurrection-y stuff. So I mean, and so did Passion of the Christ. They stopped after the passion parts. It was just like, all right. So
yeah.
I don't know.
Again, I'll probably end up going and seeing it. I whatever. I'll talk about it in this problem with your face.
My complicated feelings about Mel Gibson. So
yeah, exactly. So the other movie is Dundee, and I saw the trailer, and there's a longer trailer out.
I saw it too. Yeah,
and it's kind of supposed to be like Crocodile Dundee's American son comes back to Australia, and it's nothing like his father.
right.
And it's a comedy, except it turns out the whole thing is fake. It's an ad for their airline, Qantas Air.
Right.
But it looks so good. I mean, and so who they get in it? They've got Chris Hemsworth, Luke Hemsworth, Hugh Jackman, Margot Robbie, Ruby Rose, Isla Fisher, and Russell Crowe, all in this fake trailer.
Beautiful people.
Yeah.
And what's funny is if you see the trailer, I would go see that movie.
Yeah.
It looks so funny.
Well, that's because they only show the best bits in the ad.
Yeah, in the trailer, but it's really fun to watch the trailer and then realize at the end this whole thing was just an ad for Australian tourism. But really, really good actors. It was really well done.
Yeah.
Kind of very Dundee.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I would go to see that movie over, say, another Indiana Jones movie if I had the choice of two. Because guess what? Spielberg and Harrison Ford are teaming up to make the 5th Indiana Jones movie.
Why?
Yeah.
I that's
know.
one I cannot answer. I mean, he's even going to make it before West Side Story, which we talked about last time.
Which I'm very excited about.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see that, but not if it's,
Are they going to move the story? I mean, remember the part of the problem with the 4th one was they moved the plot up into the 50s.
Uh-huh.
And all of a sudden it was Russia, nuclear arms, and
and so now it'll be the 60s or so.
that's what I'm wondering.
Indiana Jones will be on his porch in his rocket chair, sneering at all
No, it'll be
black
Korean
hippies.
War era, right? I mean,
Yeah, and sneering at all of the black people and talking about his, because he's just vaguely racist and.
right.
I don't know. And again, I also, like you, don't really have any good expectation, but I could be wrong. Spielberg is a genius. Maybe he'll get a really, really good script this time, and in a couple years we'll be talking about this fantastic 5th movie, Save the Series.
The
I don't know.
capstone of Indiana Jones.
Yeah, that's right. It totally redeemed Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Just skip the even numbered ones.
Yeah.
Just
The
watch the
machete
odd
order.
numbered ones. Oh man! So let's talk about movies that are coming out soon.
This will make for one epic trailer.
So there is a trailer out now for the movie titled Winchester, and this stars Helen Mirren as Sarah Winchester, who built the Winchester Mystery House out in California. This is the house that she started working. She is the heir to the Winchester firearms fortune, and she starts building the house of her dreams in California, but she never stops. She is her own architect. She builds onto this house a piece at a time, these incredible rooms, staircases that go nowhere, doors that won't open, and it's just this maze that just continues to go on until she dies. All right? So that by itself is pretty freaky.
Yeah.
Add to that the legend that she believed that she had to build a house not only for herself and her family, but for the souls of any person who was killed with a Winchester rifle. And that's the reason why she was building this enormous house. That's pretty freaky too.
It is.
And that is the plot. That is the plot of this movie, except that instead of treating it as, a harmless fancy, she's right. That there really are these spirits, and it's a really scary looking movie.
Not for me.
Don't know that I'll go to see it because I don't love scary movies. Maybe I'll see it when it's streaming or something like that. But can't beat Helen Mirren.
Yeah. It's a cool thing to make a movie about. I mean, it's
I think so too.
Cool
It's been done.
Things.
It's been mentioned in other stories.
Mm-hmm.
They even discussed a little bit of that in like Rose Red, the Stephen King made for TV movie.
Oh yeah,
the mansion Rose Red was a little bit like the Winchester Mystery House. You could tell it was inspired by it.
Yeah,
and it's been mentioned in other media. I love scary movies. unlike you guys, and I saw this trailer and was so turned off. And then I was like, is that Helen Mirren? What the heck is she doing here? I don't know.
She's working.
Why were you turned off? What about it turned you off, Steve?
It just seemed so derivative and crappy. I don't know. Like, you've got your trailer sense. I've got my own version of that.
Sure.
And it's just another haunted house movie with, ghosts and clocks or whatever. I mean, I don't know. We'll see what happens when it comes out.
I did think that the walls weeping blood was a little much.
Yeah. Though I did like, it did have creepy child singing. I'm a sucker for that.
Yeah.
Like, seriously.
Like, all these pieces have been, used over and over again in various... So, not to review it, but another trailer to go see is Hereditary. It's a movie that stars Toni Collette, Gabriel Byrne, Alex Wolff, and it's a horror movie, and it made a big splash when they showed it at the film festivals. And it feels different. If you watch this trailer, it doesn't seem like a repeat. You definitely are like, what's going on? This is really creepy. What's with the tiny little super detailed dollhouses? And Toni Collette's a really good actress. So
I
maybe
love
not
Gabriel
Helen Mirren.
Byrne.
Good.
Yeah. Well, I love Gabriel Byrne, too. So
yeah. So just, I'm telling the listeners, contrast and compare. Like, it's an English assignment. Watch Winchester, then watch Hereditary, and see how one seems a little bit like overused cliche fest, and the other one seems kind of new and raw and disturbing.
All right.
In my opinion. So.
Excellent. Well, how about budget bin games? Madison, you got something good for us?
Big fun.
Small price.
I do. I have a game that is totally not disturbing at all. It's free.
Excellent.
All right, so you can download it for free. It's very cool. You guys know I love visual novels and dating sims. And Doki Doki Literature Club is excellent. In Japanese, Doki Doki is the onomatopoeia for, like, thump thump of someone's heart. So, like, it's like it's a cutesy, like, oh, my heart is beating, I see my crush,
Doki
and
Doki.
Doki Doki, or like, was it the thing that got made into Mario 2 in the U.S. was Doki Doki Panic? Like,
yes, that's right.
Yeah. So that's Doki Doki. But anyway, it's Doki Doki Literature Club, and it's a dating sim. And it's developed by a single dude. It's Dan Salvato. It's on Mac, Linux, and Windows. So you are a high school boy, and your cute friend convinces you to join the new literature club that happens to be full of cute girls. It starts out, it's very fluffy. It's lots of pink and hearts and polka dots. You write your way into the girls' hearts by writing them poetry using a Mad Lib style mini game. And it is definitely not at all any kind of psychological, terrifying horror. It's very just super surface, real fluffy. Though I do feel like I should read you the content warning. Individuals suffering from anxiety or depression may not have a safe experience playing this game. And you can look up full content warnings at the website. Again, this is Doki Doki Literature Club. It's totally normal, totally fluffy. It's not going to terrify you or make you cry. Not that I actually cry. I might have cried.
Wow. You gave it a Tanuki Scrotum rating here, which we haven't done in a long time.
Yes, I know it's your anime thing, but I give this 12 of 10 Tanuki Scrotes.
Wow.
It has excellent sound design that really plays, it really twists your expectations. This is not for children. I don't know why it knew my name. It was like reading my Steam files. There's a lot going on. But you will find love and passion, and I highly recommend it. It is not for the faint of heart, but you should watch the trailer because it'll give you absolutely zero idea of the game other than it's just cute little anime girls. Gotta date them. So that's Doki Doki Literature Club. I just finished it today. It was a lot. There was a lot happening. And I recorded myself playing the first half of it or so, and then I was like, I'm just flipping off the camera. I normally don't mind recording myself being terrified or upset, as I've had to shut off other horror games mid try. Not that this is a horror game. This is totally... I just recommend going as blind as possible, but do be careful. There are some very, very romantic themes. And anyway, Doki Doki Literature Club.
You're saying that with such heavy irony in your voice.
No irony there. Hey, does that count as our weird anime for the week, or did you have one of those too, Steve?
スティーブはとってもくだらない人でアニメを見るんです。What weird anime is Steve watching this week?
I have one. It was called Recovery of an MMO Junkie. It's only 10 episodes. They do have, and I watched it on Crunchyroll, they have 2 OVAs. That's the kind of the extra video content. Usually it comes packaged on the DVD if you buy the DVD aftermarket. But those are also available on Crunchyroll. So there was an 11th episode, and then the kind of a behind-the-scenes thing, which I didn't find that interesting. So it's a story about a person who gets addicted to MMO, which is massively multiplayer online role-playing game. Right. And the main difference is this one, instead of being kind of like a high school boy living in his mom's basement, it's a 30-year-old woman, and she had a salaried position. They don't exactly say why, but they kind of imply that she was burnt out. Mm-hmm. So she was, working in a corporate setting and got completely burnt out, and so I just quit. Came home and decided to become a NEET. NEET is an acronym, NEET, stands for not employed or education or training. So you're not in any of the kind of expected roles. So if you're like a 15 to, 65 or whatever, you're probably expected to be something like either in training, getting your education, or working, and you're none of the above. So they're called NEETs. So she's a 30-year-old woman NEET, and she calls herself an elite NEET. But she decides to get into this MMO, plays it, and if you're familiar with MMOs, you get to make a character, and she chooses a male character. And the only kind of crazy part is, I don't play MMOs, but a lot of my friends do, and they say this is not unusual.
It's very
Men play female characters, women play male characters, lots and lots of reasons to do this. But for some reason, in the anime, she thinks it's this huge deal. So she tells everybody she's a young man, and they would make guesses like, you go to university? Yeah, I'm a young man who goes to this university. So everybody thinks that she's like in her early 20s, she's male, and she's a university student. And then she forms a relationship with this young girl, who, of course, I don't know if I should give it away, but I'll give it away. It's a dude. It turns out that there's like a dude playing this girl that she really likes. And so that, so her male character really, really forms this close relationship with the female character, but it's actually a woman playing the male, and the relationship is with this dude playing the girl.
That's adorable.
Maybe the second or third episode, I kind of caught the plot. I'm like, oh, this is the shop around the corner. It's a famous 1940s movie. It's one of my wife's favorite movies.
Is it Jimmy Stewart, right? And
yes, that's it, Jimmy Stewart. Lisa watches this every year around Christmas, and I've watched it with her. It's actually a really good story. It's very, very pleasant, very mild. It was remade a couple times. It was famously remade as You've Got Mail.
I see, right.
It's the same basic plot. So this is that idea. It's kind of that plot. Instead of being, shopkeepers in the same shop, they're both characters in the same guild of the same server.
That's very clever.
Yes. It's a very, very, it's hard to explain how pleasant, mild, entertaining the story is. You really care about the characters.
Wait. Is this more heavy irony?
No, irony at all.
Is there a viewing warning?
No, at no point was I crying. I will tell you this. This is Japanese, so if you're counting on them, getting it on, doesn't happen. And there's part where they explicitly say, they meet in real life at some point.
And
spoilers.
They get nosebleeds.
Well, she's 30 years old and he's 28. And they act like they're, 14 and 16. Oh. She's so nervous she doesn't know what to say to him. And, he ends up in her apartment and she doesn't want him to look at her bed. And I'm like, you're 30 years old. This cannot possibly be this awkward.
And yet.
Yeah. So again, it's refreshing to see an anime that's not about high schoolers. That there aren't that many.
Yeah.
But whatever. It's thoroughly enjoyable. And it's not that many of them. There's only 10 episodes. So watch Recovery of an MMO Junkie.
And that brings us to the end of All in the Reflexes for this week. We are going to nip around the corner to the shop over there that has a problem with your face. And if you want to accompany us, you have to be a Patreon supporter. How could they do that, Steve?
We always recommend going to our website, aitrpodcast.com. There's full show notes for every episode and links to our social media, which is Twitter, Facebook, and Patreon. And you go over to Patreon for as little as $1 a month, you get twice the content. And we've got a couple extra patrons, and our Patreon support has gone up. We're very, very happy about that. We try to really give you some valuable stuff. It's kind of an unfiltered, unbridled, sometimes perhaps unhinged discussion. After the show, kind of after show.
Yep. And looking at the show notes, I can tell you that there will be absolutely no discussion of gross porn parodies. None whatsoever.
Nope.
Absolutely
nothing.
He says ironically.
Nothing to see. So if you don't want to hear about that, then you can follow us over to There's a Problem with Your Face. Until then, I'm Jeb Brack.
I'm Madison Metricula Roberts.
This was Tech Guy Steve.
And we'll see you next time.